Nigeria has been classified as a developing economy with a lot of potential to change that status to being called a developed economy. And this was the major focus of the government until 2009, when terms which were considered strange and out of place began to find its place in conversations and occurrences in the country. It was the violent uprising of the Islamic radical group Boko Haram. Then terms like bomb blast, suicide bombing began to make headlines, and as expected, security became the first focus of government. 6 years later, the battle is still on. It's not a pleasant story, but let's see how Nigeria got to where it is today and the hope of changing the insecurity status of the country on this episode of Big Story. I'm Amy Thompson. Scenes like this, aftermath of bomb blasts, have unfortunately become common in Nigeria, especially in the northern states of the country, most of which Islamist terrorist group Boko Haram has claimed responsibility. This level of insecurity started with the killing of its leader, Muhammad Yusuf, in 2009, after which Abubakar Shekau became the leader. The timeline of attacks shows that in 2009, 1,000 people were killed in clashes between the militant group and the Nigerian army, while in 2010, there was Bauchi prison break where 5 people were killed and over 700 inmates freed. In 2011, among others, was the attack on the police headquarters and the United Nations building, both in Abuja. Other attacks until April 2014, when almost 300 secondary school girls were abducted from the venue of an examination in Chibok local government area of Borno State. The attacks became even more frequent after this, mostly on a daily basis, and in some cases with such show of guts. Analysts say this can be traced to a number of factors.
Right from the political days during the First and Second Republic, we have cases of Matasine, Kano, Maiduguri, Kaduna, in so many other places, in Katsina, in Kaduna State, Manshok, just mention it. And it is the remnants of all these dissidents from the radical Islamic group, together with the disbanded Niger army of Hissène Habré, who were not absorbed and they did not disarm them, that came out to start robbing our people, including the Chadian army, that were robbing our people, that formed the nucleus of the present Boko Haram that we have. And along the line, as political events continue to unfold, these terrorists, or probably the dissidents as they were known then, or the banditries, which we call them armed robbers on the highways, they were the people that formed the nucleus of the political campaign talks of those political leaders who later emerged as state governors. They make them a lot of promises. By the time they got to the government house, they discovered that the resources available to the government cannot cater for these people any longer. So what they did, all the weapons and arms they bought for them to put them into power, they left it with them and they disappeared into the forest to start seeing how they can terrorize the sub-strategy on the street, get whatever money they need to maintain themselves before they started going out for training of insurgency. And people send them out for training. By the time they came back, they discovered the people that send them out are inferior to them because they've gone outside the country. So they don't want to take instruction from them again. They look at them as enemies. They look at them as a better place than the people who send them out. So therefore, they decided to pick a leader and return back to the forest and started terrorizing the state.
The perception of retired Colonel Abayomi Dare is not different from that of his former colleague. He also believes that the problem could have been nipped in the bud.
My take on this is just it's a lesson for us, because the insurgency that we have in this part of the world, particularly Nigeria, is like a homegrown terrorism, because these are people who had nothing to do, and then they saw people like messiahs or masters who used them for political benefits, and thereafter dumped these people. And of course, haven't tasted the apple, haven't tasted the good life. They will also want to continue to be relevant. It happened with the Niger Delta militants. And in my opinion, so it is too with the Northeast Islamic group. in this same country, when this thing started like a child's play, certain individuals whom I'm not prepared to start naming or mentioning their names here now, were fingered as people, those behind this set of people, this sect. And someone was even declared wanted. But along the line, nobody's saying anything about that anymore. They're moving about freely.